What's up? We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There are people dying. Da-da. I don't think that's actually the line. Maybe it is though. Um, Given the subject matter of that song, probably is. There's people dying. There's no crickets. Well, there's some crickets, but there's not enough for you guys to listen to, so it's just going to be my boring ass drawing on voice. And I probably won't even be here for that long because I'm quite tired. And I do have to work in the morning, so. But I wanted to get some time in. As usual, you know what? I'm actually going to set the guitar behind me because it'll ride. And that way it's back there and people remember, like, I'll do requests if somebody wants one. Because sometimes those are fun to puzzle out if it's a song I don't actually know. My cat is sitting here chilling as I do this. I want to get to where I'm doing like 2 of these a day. I have a gimbal coming, so I'm going to be upgrading the quality of these streams quite a bit in the coming week, hopefully. The stabilizer is supposed to be here. Is it called a stabilizer or a gimbal? Can someone clarify that? Because I keep seeing the terms being used interchangeably. Or are they the same device? Or is it different components of the same device? I don't understand. In any case, it should be here Thursday. And that means by Friday morning, you guys should be seeing a really beautiful, stabilized uh, feed whenever I'm streaming, which will be nice. It's not going to upgrade the quality of these videos, sadly, though, very much, because my phone is just a Moto Edge, and so its forward-facing camera is not that good. The one that faces like the direction the screen faces, it's just not that high quality. Hi, hi, hi. Hello, everyone. Hello. Greetings. Welcome. The world says hello. Am I the first on here? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been slow. Normally, when I first start them, within the first 10 seconds, there's like a burst of 20 or 30 people, and then it evens out. But yeah, are you a boy or a girl? I am a girl. Very good for noticing that I'm super androgynous, though. Philippines. What's up, Philippines? I'm in Mississippi. Mississippi. Craziest trip experience? I've already asked boy or girl. You only get one of those a stream. Uh, Craziest trip experience. Um, so I tripped in Trinidad, Colorado, in a parking lot that doesn't exist anymore. It's the building that it was attached to still exists. Both of the buildings. It's a dispensary and a combination Wendy's truck stop. And I had a trip there one time on some acid that I got from someone who was also going to the Rainbow Gathering. It was the same direction we were headed, but they were going right to the gathering. We were doing some other dilly-dallying in New Mexico before we headed over there. But we traded some of the weed we'd gotten that day at a really fucking good price to them for some acid. And the trip I had that night was by far the most insane trip I've ever had. It's I don't know if anybody in here has done acid. You can tell me if you feel the same way. I feel like acid can be one of the most transformative experiences of your life. It can also be a very mundane thing that doesn't do much. But I feel like most people who fucked around with acid have had at least one really profound acid experience where things have changed for them. Um, New avenues were unlocked. And that was like the trip where I realized how much manipulation I had experienced throughout my life, how much manipulation I had done throughout my life, and how potent I was at noticing it and teaching other people about it. And ever since then, I've been way more aware of the way I talk and the way I ask things of other people and that kind of shit. There's a lot of crazy stories that are part of that story too, so you can keep asking about it. Holy shit. There's so many people in here. That's amazing. That's so cool. Is you a man or a woman? I can't really tell. I am a woman. And you're using way too many emojis, so chill out on that or I'm going to have to... Diddy is coming for you. Skibbity. Null, you're fucking... You're from the Paul chat. I recognize Null. Zeke mode. Finally, an intelligent person. What have I said before? I've said a million times now. The first 30 minutes of these streams is universally an experience of waiting until someone intelligent has joined and actually having a conversation with that person. Just tuning in. Oh yes, all my LSD youth moments are my few memories that still exist. Hold on. And they are profound. Yeah, dude, like my first trip, I don't remember super crazy duper well, but there's a bunch of aspects that I remember super well. Like I remember the light that was put off by the chandelier that was in my mom's living room looked so fucking weird. And it started to look, the only way I can describe it is wormy. It started to look like it was moving and undulating in strange ways. And then I remember when I tried to go to sleep, I couldn't convince myself to actually try going up the stairs. So I ended up sleeping on the couch, but I didn't really end up sleeping because number one, I had a business meeting in the morning and I knew it. And number two, the little, what's it called? The thing you have in your house that give you internet. The Wi-Fi router was flashing red and green lights and it was blinking in my entire field of vision. And it just was like, and that was not a pleasant experience. But all the other ones I've had that were profound left those sort of profound memories. But I've also had some very mundane acid experiences for sure. Legs open like there's balls down there. Respect trans, please. They have so much going on. I have no sense. I have no idea what try. I can't even make sense of that, and I'm not even gonna try. Okay, that's too many emojis. Be gone, thoughty. You're an idiot. Well, you know, you only get one of those if you're actually able to spell the word your. It's not spelled Y-O-U-R when used in that context. It's spelled Y-O-U-R-E. Y-O-U-R-E, yeah. And there's an apostrophe between U and R-E. Yeah, there is. I had to like think about it myself for a second. Like, am I spelling that correctly? Cringe live. We're all about posting cringe over here. Cringe is fun, dude. You'll learn. Topic? I don't know. We're just getting started here. So if you have an idea for a topic, just shout something out and I'll riff on it while I can. Somebody was asking about craziest trip experiences, and I can always keep talking about that. But I was just like reading the chat and realized like, holy shit, number one, there's a shit ton of people in here. Hi everybody. And number two, none of them are making a whole lot of sense. Do you wipe sitting down or standing up? Like, this is exactly what I mean. That's gone. You're the power bottom? No, we're not. That's not, like, you know what I mean? No. Human by chance, alpha by choice. Yes, that is me. With that description, you have actually accurately summarized my existence. Giga Chad? Thanks. I don't know. Like, is that even a compliment anymore? I feel like I feel like in my old age of 26, I've started to kind of like lose sight and lose grasp with the you know, the new hip lingo of the day. So I don't even know if that's like considered a compliment or they're probably just trolling, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, no, there's no topic. Just pick, pitch one into the wind and I'll riff on it if it's interesting. Is the president already selected? Yes. I genuinely believe that. It's one of those conspiracy theories that I don't really know how I would go about proving, Damn, what a great topic for trolls to ruin. I know, dude. And honestly, once we get the trolls kind of knocked out, maybe a little bit, I'll go back into it. But I am going to answer this person's question because at least it was a legitimate question. You know what I mean, Z? You know, like at least it was like a valid question. So, is the president already selected? I don't have a whole lot of evidence for this, but I believe so. It's something me and my dad talk about sometimes, and he's the first person I ever heard mention this idea that the president is pre-selected, that before you ever get to the voting booth, that decision has been made up, and whatever votes have to be altered, cast away, forgotten about, etc., to make those numbers happen goes on and happens. Um, and I don't know. I guess I just kind of believe that because I think he believes it for different reasons than I believe it. I believe it because I think capital has intrinsic control of every fucking aspect of this country. So it seems unusual that they would give us the choice of president. Like, maybe there was a time in American history where that choice wasn't already made up. But if you look at how the parties act behind closed doors, if you look at how they tend to vote just over the last 10 years, it's not impossible for like it doesn't seem impossible to me that they could be basically getting together and deciding this is what the president's going to be, this is who it's going to be, and these are the numbers they're going to win by to keep everybody happy. And that wouldn't shock me. So maybe so. Do you like Dave Matthews Band? Not really. um are they the one who did they do uh Midnight Toker, right? I like Midnight Toker. That's about it. My sister is pregnant. My partner is pregnant. Congratulations to you, and I I hope the best for both of our children. That's actually really cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. What's your opinion on pineapple on pizza? It belongs there. Pineapple is delicious on pizza. Just make sure it's complemented with the right toppings. I like pineapple and jalapeno. I like pineapple and ham, obviously, classic Hawaiian pizza. I like pineapple and pepperoni, honestly. You gotta Pineapple brings a certain tart sweetness to the pizza. Counter it with some salty savoriness. So I'm gonna be a dad. Yeah, I mean I'm gonna be basically the same thing. I mean like I'm not looking at myself as a dad, but I am the assigned male at birth parent in the equation. So whatever. I'm gonna be a mom, and that's a very strange thing. Wait, no, you're the one who said your sister is pregnant, dude. You're trolling. That's lame. That's that's dumb. I thought you were being serious, and I was being so sweet and nice. Congrats, Phoebes. Thanks, Zeke. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really happy about it. It's the next logical step in my life to me, um, because I feel like I crave that sort of like um, do it or die pressure all the time. And a kid is like the ultimate test of that. Would you rather break all of your fingers or win $50? That's a really stupid question. Obviously, win $50. Why would you? What? Who the fuck asked? Like, most of those questions, there's like, you're being asked one of two things, and one of them is like highly rewarding but highly damaging. The other is not so highly rewarding but way less damaging. That one's just like, do you want to fucking hurt for no reason and no reward, or do you want to walk away with $50? I'm gonna have to go with walking away with $50. Can someone explain to me what's being asked by that question? Because it sounds like a question with two meanings, if you know what I mean. What's your opinion on cheese? I can take it or leave it as a snack item. I like cheese on pizza. I feel about cheese the same way I feel about tomatoes. Cheese is great as an ingredient. Cheese is not great by itself. Pineapple, pepperoni, jalapeno is goated. Indeed, Zeke knows his fucking pizza. That's proof in the pudding right the fuck there. I need time to think about my answer. Your answer to what? I've already forgot what we were talking about. You'll teach them to be a critical thinker, a win for humanity. I'm going to try my very level-headed best. I know this, I'm not going to give them any kind of smart device until they're like 14 years old. I'll let them have like a desktop computer, because that is a different sort of arrangement than having that same sort of computing capacity in your hand at all times and being able to reference it offhandedly. Um, I think it damages kids too early on, not judging how anyone else does it, because I'm sure people do just fine with like time allotments and that kind of thing. Excuse me. But I just don't even want to risk it with my kids. I already know, like, I have autism. My partner probably has autism. Like, screen-based autism is probably not a great thing to add into that mixture. So I'm definitely going to try my best to avoid some of the some of the trappings of modern parenthood. I'm going to definitely try to do my own thing in that respect, or at least do like my parents did for the most part. I don't know. Breaking all of your fingers builds character and strengthens your fingers in the future. No, it does not. Um, I Isn't it a myth that broken bones heal up to be twice as strong? Isn't that just something that they say to like kids who broke their arm? Cheese makes me shit. Well, no shit. Well, actually, here's the fun. I actually know why that is. So I got a 23andMe test done. Turns out I'm 100% that bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like 99.4% white. Like basically like Irish and Scottish. So white as the driven snow. And then like 0.4% Angolan and Congolese and like 0.4% uh, Northern Indian and Pakistani. But one of the things I learned is that genetically, different populations of the human population on Earth experience different levels of. I'm trying to think of what the trait is called. It's retained lactose something. It's basically like you keep your ability to produce lactase. It's like retained lactase activity or something like that. Some people have that gene. I have that gene, so I'm not lactose intolerant. So cheese doesn't make me shit. Dairy doesn't make me shit. Now, a lot of things that are commonly served with cheese, especially processed cheese products and things like that, those things can fuck my stomach up and make me, have the shits. But cheese itself and dairy itself, just, leaving aside any additives or processing agents, doesn't affect me that way. And it's because I have the continued lactase activity gene, because I'm, like I said, white as the driven snow. And all of my ancestors for the last 100 generations or so, except maybe like one branch, out of 100, like 99 out of those 100 branches were living in places where dairy was a common part of the diet for, hundreds of years, the entire time they've been there. So makes sense, right? But some other people don't have that. So in populations where dairy really never became like a big part of the menu, the daily kind of um, eating habits of people, they don't really have that. They don't tend anyway to have that gene, and so a lot of them experience way higher rates of um, lactose intolerance. So that's why it comes down to your genetics. One of your ancestors came from a place or one of your ancestors has ancestry in a place that did not have dairy as a staple feature of the diet. Okay, Mrs. Finger Doctor. I'm not a fucking doctor. I feel like I heard somebody say once that was some shit that they said to kids to make them feel better. I'm not a doctor, but $50 is $50. I can I can go get like a couple of combos at McDonald's for that. I can go to the movies and get, well, if I'm going by myself, I can get popcorn, a drink, and a snack. If I'm going with another person, we can share a bucket of popcorn, we can both get a drink. So, $50 to me is just a much more immediate kind of like thing. And I was homeless for 2 years, bro. I don't need my character built up anymore. That shit was horrible. Wait, horrible? That's not a word. Horrifying and terrible. It was not fun. I mean, parts of it were fun. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Parts of it were kind of fun, but most of it was horrible. And before that, my life wasn't exactly defined by easiness. I don't sit around bitching about it, but I feel like I've had enough character building experiences at this point. But if you're really just fixated on how my fingers being broken, I do have a fucked up finger right now. I've got flexor tensoriasis in this finger. At least that's what they think it is. But basically, I can't move this finger any farther towards my wrist than that. It's hard to get an angle on that. But you can see with my other hand, no problem. I can, grip it and do a perfect fist. So, yes, it's evolution. Yeah, it's the beautiful art of evolution. Which is, it's so cool to think about that, isn't it? I'm Mexican. I should be able to eat cheese, bro. You would think so, right? Um, but you might have inherited the reduced lactase activity in adulthood gene from your Native American ancestors. So if you're Mexican, that probably means you've got mixed Spanish European ancestry and indigenous American ancestry. And as far as I know, dairy was not a feature of the indigenous diet until European colonization. And if that's the case, then that gene would probably still be pretty recent in your lineage, and it's totally reasonable to think that two Mexican parents could have um, that that gene and have it not be present, or at least not be active in themselves, but be a carrier for it, and then you happen to be the that 50% chance or whatever comes out of that diagram. That would be the explanation I would assume that a geneticist would use, but like I said, I'm not a geneticist or a doctor, so that's just what I am guessing based off of what I know about genetics. My dog ate my glasses. She won't wake up. Oh no. You better be kidding. That's horrible, dude. If you let your dog eat your fucking glasses and you're choking to death, that's shitty. And if you did do that and you just fucking came on and you're in here telling us about that, that's fucked up too. Cause uh, you know, I mean, we've all had our foibles and our fucking mistakes, but we tend to not to post the worst of them, right? This is unfair. I mean, yeah, genetics is that way, honestly. Genetics is that way, you know? I'm half Mexican, half white. All dairy is cool, except ice cream and whole milk. Makes no sense. Ice cream and whole milk. So I'm guessing the reason for that is because you might have like halfway lactase production. You might be able to produce enough lactase to digest light dairy products, but not enough to digest something like whole milk, which is going to have a way higher percentage of, it's going to have a way higher parts per million of lactose, which is going to require much higher lactase production to be able to digest that functionally. And ice cream, I would imagine, would be the same kind of thing, it just being made out of like heavy cream. But it would be weird if you could eat things that are made with heavy cream and it'd be fine. So I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I love thinking about this type of shit. I think she's just asleep. Oh, okay. Thank God. Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to like freak out on you or be like a douchebag or whatever. Just like I don't know. I don't like the idea of like animal abuse, even if somebody's joking about it. So I just thought I'd make sure. How tall are you? I am about 6 foot even, I think. If I stand up straight, I'm about 6 foot even, maybe 6'1". Um, Usually I kind of slouch a little bit though, so I end up looking more like 5'10". But that's mostly because like I spend my entire day at work like standing up as straight as I can and like trying to like keep up a good image because it's helpful if at least one person at the place where you work looks like they kind of halfway know what's going on. Um, and I'm that person typically. So I'm 5'4". Short king, dude. Short fucking king. Don't feel bad. That ain't no reason to feel bad, dude. Let me tell you a story of a short king. My best friend for the longest time when I was in high school was a dude named Colin. Colin was about your same height. I dwarfed him. You know what I mean? Like him and I standing next to each other, it was just absurd looking. It was like a kitten being friends with like a Rottweiler or something. Um, and like the story of our friendship is a very strange story, so I'm not going to go into all of it because it's suffice to say we started out as kind of like frenemies. Like we were very mean to each other, but we were like the only kids who were mean to each other in that class. It was PE class, and we were the only two that were actually using clever insults. So eventually, we ended up hanging out with each other and insulting the other kids to each other and making ourselves laugh and having a fucking gay old time. And eventually, we ended up becoming friends outside of school, and we would hang out and shit. And that dude was the most talented person I think I'll ever meet in my life. I never put an instrument in front of him or had him sit down at an instrument at a guitar center that he was not able to play fluently. It's like it could be shit that he never mentioned even having an interest in, let alone knowing how to play. And you'd sit him down at the bench and he would play fucking Beethoven's Fifth on an instrument that you probably couldn't figure out if you sat there with it for 5 hours. You just play it. He was like a savant, like a musical savant. Now he couldn't sing for shit. He was not a good singer, but he also like knew that and would joke about it and wouldn't really try to sing. Me and him were in a band for a while together, but it just didn't mesh because I was kind of like a one-trick pony, like a two-trick pony. I could play rhythm guitar really well, and I can sing pretty well. And he couldn't sing at all and couldn't play rhythm guitar at all, which was strange. But he could shred on an acoustic guitar. He could shred on guitar in general, but could not do acoustic guitar that well. He just did not have that ability to like slow it down and play broad strokes and kind of like notice the finer notations in them. It's like music in his head was very procedural, I feel like. But that's me analyzing his psychology. I have waved for I've weaved far more baskets in my day than you have. You are beneath me. Get weaving. I've never weaved a basket. That is true. Are you a girl or a boy? I am a girl. Um, I've never weaved a basket. But yeah. So, dude, don't think that being short makes you like less of a person, because one of the shortest dudes I ever knew as an adult was also like by far the most talented person I've ever personally known. Like it's nothing to be ashamed of. It doesn't have any correlation to anything outside of that. It's not something to think about or worry about. It feels like shitty sometimes because there are people who will be mean to short people, but keep in mind that people will be mean over any goddamn thing. I'm tall and people will uh like that doesn't stop people from making fun of me for other things. Like I'm fat, so people will make fun of me for being fat, which doesn't bother me. I'm just using it as an example of how there's always something wrong, right? You have to live in such a way and situate your mind in such a way so where you satisfy yourself. That is the primary objective. Not to satisfy others, not to live by their lights, but to satisfy yourself. To be okay with the knowledge of what you are, who you are, how you look, you know? Can I use racial slurs, please? Um, Only if you make another alt. Never weaved a single basket. Your soul is withered and dry. Nourish it. All right. How do I get started? I actually genuinely do want to learn basket weaving. Is there like a resource for me that you won't be able to link it, I don't think, in this chat, but maybe you can point me towards it if it's like something I can Google. What the fuck is Deanna talking about? You got me, whoa. I think she's pimping basket weaving as a hobby, but she's doing it so aggressively. I've never heard a basket weaver be this aggressive about their craft. Like, it's a basket. They're useful and beautiful, and I'm sure they take a lot of hours and craftsmanship to make, but it's a basket, bro. I just don't feel like it should elicit this many passions. I gotta use the bathroom, you know. Ooh, this has been a super lively chat so far, by the way, y'all. Like, super thankful for everybody that's hung out so far. I'm back. Basket weaving is easy. It doesn't take much preparation or money. That's what I've heard. I mean it can't, right? Because like people were doing it for thousands of years. Like humans have been basket weaving for probably as long as we've been humans, because there were probably pre-human societies that were making some kind of basket. Basket weaving can be easily learned by connecting with our precious elders in a local retirement home. Basket weaving is an essential practice that has been forgotten. Okay, listen, you're cool, and it's but no more basket weaving. Listen, I might get into it, but it is not like I'm not going to hear the good news of the Lord of Basket Weaving for 10 minutes, you know? How do I put this? Proselytizing is not meant to convert people. Let me explain something. So when you and I know they're not, doing it in the Christian sense, but proselytizing when Christians do it is not meant to convert people. It's meant to reassure people who are already a part of the faith of the virtue of the faith, and it's meant to basically keep them in the in group. And as a result, it doesn't matter how effective it is, and also as a result, it's kind of not very effective. Um, it kind of like it's almost meant to push people away, because then you come back to the fucking congregation and you're like, holy shit, the world really is scary outside of the church. These atheists are so mean. Um, and I feel like that lady was just doing like the basket weaving version of proselytizing, and that, to me, I get very bored of it very quickly. Really what it is I hate like looping conversation. I love it. I love to stay on one topic and explore the different nooks and crannies of it. But I hate it when we're just talking about the same shit over and over and over and over. Like when the conversation is like just spinning your wheels in the mud, making the same point, having it refuted in basically the same way, back and forth, back. That shit annoys me. Annoys the fuck out of me. Is there a story with the guitar in the back? I see some writing on it. I'm less likely to weave a basket after that. 100%. I'm less likely to fucking weave a basket now that I had to read all that shit. Thank you. You're understanding exactly what I mean, Gringler Chunts. I think I recognize you from the ball chat, right? Who the fuck joins random lives and promotes basket weaving of all things? That's what I'm fucking saying! That's exactly what I'm saying. Who the fuck joins a random live stream and is like, basket weaving, basket weaving, basket weaving? Who the fuck? Anyway, Zeke asked a really cool question, which is there a story about this guitar and the writing on it? There is a story behind this guitar. So, the guitar I had before this one is still in my closet somewhere, and had the same message on it. It says, "This machine kills fascists." You probably can't tell because of the way the camera is, but it does say that. And my last guitar said that too, but I didn't have paint markers at the time, so it's way worse painting. And that guitar, eventually, it's the tuning peg for its G string just popped out one day and went away and broke, and that guitar was useless after that. And so, one second. And so, after that, I had to get a new guitar. I had to start looking for one, but I had to start looking for one because I was living on the road at the time by playing a shitty old guitar that at this point was completely unable to play anything more than 5 strings. And I only had 4 strings for it. So I was playing with 4 strings, and I had a little bit of money, and I went into a pawn shop, and I got I looked through all the different guitars, and they only had one that even piqued my interest a little bit, and it was this Fender that you see here. It was all black, and of course at the time it didn't have all this wear on the pick guard, but it was all black, and it had nice strings on it. I remember at the time, and no, it didn't come with a case. My case is the one I bought on Amazon a long time ago, but it came with a gig bag, which was cool. And it was only like, I think like $200 or something. And so I put $50 on it in layaway and spent the next 2 weeks playing a shitty guitar with increasingly less strings. By the time the day that I finished up making the money that I needed to go in there and finish paying off for this guitar, I was playing with 2 strings, literally 2 strings. So I could only play a specific, like there was certain songs I could play that you can kind of halfway make sense if that's all you've got to work with. And I was doing a lot of a cappella songs. It was shitty. And then I was able to buy this one and take it home with me. And because I knew of the magic of paint markers by that time, and I'd gotten some for other projects, I used those to start decorating the guitar, and I promptly lost my white paint marker. I've recently refound it. I think it's actually somewhere in here somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but it's somewhere off in here, I think. And I'm planning on adding some more decoration to it, but it's got the pentagram, it's got "This Machine Kills Fascists." I want to do some other messaging on there too, but I haven't decided 100% what. If anyone's got any requests of any songs that you think my stoner hippie ass might know, feel free to post that shit up, and I will do my best to accommodate. Love it. I love it too. That guitar's been to, uh, it's been as far west as Craig, Colorado, and as far east as Salisbury Beach, Massachusetts, and let's see, as far south as Ruidoso, New Mexico. So this guitar has been all over the fucking country in all kinds of weather. It played at the 2022 Colorado Rainbow Gathering, at the 2023 New Hampshire Rainbow Gathering, at the 2023 Vermont Regionals. So it's seen a lot of really cool crowds and done a lot of cool shit. What is your opinion on the American education system? A great question, and I will get back to that in 1 second. A Satanist guitar. I mean, I'm not a Satanist, which is kind of why I want to adorn it with some other imagery too, like some other just like transgressive imagery, because that's the only reason I've got it on my guitar, is because it's a symbol of transgression, you know. DFF theme song. Oh, Salty Paul. Oh my God, do I remember enough of the lyrics of Salty Paul to do a cover of it? Nope, I sure enough don't. Oh my God, it's been so many years since I've listened to that song on repeat that I do not remember all the lyrics to it. And so I would sound, no, I can't do Salty Paul. I wish I could. I should relearn it because it is an amazing song and it would be super fun to cover with the audience I tend to have. Anyway, so someone asked my opinion on the American education system, and I'm going to answer them because I love talking about this shit. So, first of all, I want to say I'm not a teacher and I've never worked in the education system in any capacity. What I did is graduate high school and go through some fairly advanced classes and get to experience basically 3 different types of high school, like 3 different types of high school in my high school career. So, started it out in schools down here. They were block scheduling, and the curriculum was kind of split up between semesters. So rather than doing most of the same classes for both semesters, every class would be different in each semester. And so you'd have one semester that was nothing but this certain type of math, and then the next semester be another different kind of math in the same block, etc. I also went to two different high schools in Missouri. One was North County in St. Francis County, and that was a school with a very poor tax base, but a very rich student base, which was kind of strange to think about. And I'll explain that difference in a minute. The other one was um, the other one was Central R3 High School in Park Hills, Missouri, and that one was kind of the opposite in a weird way. So it had a pretty vast tax base covering it as far as like the allotments that the locality made out of its budget for the school system and the way that they taxed for the school system, etc. But its student base was poor as fuck. So basically, the poorer part of town, the poorer part of the county, had a better school district because the people there were managing it. They were managing it better, and um, the funding was insured, even though there wasn't a whole lot of like super rich people living in that town or anything. Whereas the other one had way more rich people sending their kids to the school, but that also meant that they were like way more stingy with their tax dollars and did way more in that town's local politics to make sure that that school wasn't super well funded. And then they would personally fund different aspects of the school that they wanted to be better. And what this uh, different like variety of experiences taught me is that I'm rocking because I have ADHD or autism. I probably have ADHD too, but like as far as I know, I've been told like it's an autistic thing. It's stemming, and I don't know why you care. Anyway, and that's such a road bump on when I'm trying to talk about something interesting, dude. I read my chat. Don't don't be a road bump, please. Follow the example of Woe and Zeke mode, who are being fucking constructive chatters. Okay. Anyway, so what this different myriad of experiences has taught me is that American education is not standard. Your education depends a lot in this country on where you're at in the country. Um, if you're in a well-funded school district with well-managed systems, and a well-managed budget, then you're going to have a better school experience. You're gonna. And if you're in a school district that's bad, like poorly funded and poorly managed, you're going to have a worse one. That means you really can't talk about the American education system in super broad strokes, but there's some things you can say from what I understand. So I know teachers are pretty much universally underpaid. I know classrooms are, well, okay, so I don't want to reveal too much, but I have a family member who is a teacher. And so I do know a little bit. We don't talk that much anymore, but I do know a little bit from having talked to them. So one thing that was true in my childhood and remains true today is that teachers have to pay for so much shit out of pocket, especially if the parents don't come through with those lists. But that's why those lists exist. That's why the school lists exist, because all these teachers get together, or sometimes individual teachers just punch up a list that contains all the things that they know certain students are not going to be able to bring in. And so it's a system of ensuring there's enough supplies for everybody to learn adequately, which sounds to me kind of like a system of wealth redistribution. I don't know why we couldn't just use our existing system of wealth redistribution, aka taxes, to fund equipment purchases for schools. And I don't mean big computers and shit every year. I mean budget out like one big reform I would make to the schools. I don't know how much of a difference it would make, but one big difference I would make is like um if I had the ability to make a change like this, is I would make it so that teachers get like a certain baseline budget that they get at the end of at the beginning of every school year, and as needed throughout the rest of the year, to buy basic supplies so that they don't have to give the parents a fucking school list. And if the local tax has to go up by 0.5%, who gives a fuck? You don't ever have to worry about a school list again, other than the shit that you know your kid is going to want to have around, the shit that you know your kid is going to use. Most likely people are still going to be buying their kid their own school supplies, because that's one of those things that makes you special in school, I guess. But people wouldn't need to. It would take so much pressure off of parents who sometimes just flat out don't have the money to go school shopping, but still have to send their kids to school. And it's right that they have to send their kids to school, because you got to have a basic education to function in this society. But it's not exactly fair that they are expected to, like, it's fucked up to me that we put so much pressure on people in this society to have kids and to reproduce and to go through that process, but we don't want to grease the wheels for them in any way. You know what I mean? Like society wants to put an immense kind of cultural pressure on the idea that you should be a parent, but it doesn't necessarily readily uh, acquiesce to notions that would make that easier. Oh my god. Chat is retarded right now. Please say a prayer for my Italian friend that passed away in a car accident. His name is Vaggiano Penasanti. Looking down from heaven. O Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass upon us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power, the kingdom, and the spirit, forever and ever. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless the memory of Vaggiano Penasanti. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's just someone trying to get me to say vagina penis. They could just say vagina penis, and I'd probably say it out loud because of how much shit I read out of my chat without even reading it first. So I don't know why people are trying to get me on cheap shit like that. Cheaper for a school tax than a new jail tax? Well, hell yeah, like, and that's the thing too, isn't like a that's the crazy thing about it, is that, like, if we really wanted to reduce these recidivism rates, we would spend some of this money that we're spending on beefing up prisons and jails constantly on beefing up schools and beefing up fucking vocational programs, beefing up scholarship and grant programs. So 1% tax increase would mean I'd pay $1,500 to $1,800, so I don't have to buy $100 of school supplies. I'm out. So you're one of these people that makes like so many, like, thousands of dollars that you'd have to. Okay, so if a 1%, and I said a 0.5%, dumbass. But if we're just gonna go with what you said, and 1%, if 1% of your income is $1,000, then that means your yearly income is $100,000. I don't want to hear it. I don't give a shit about what you have to say about taxation. You deserve here's why I don't want to hear it, because I make like 16 grand a year, and despite what people think, I still pay like I don't know, like a couple, probably like at least I don't know, like I'd have to look at my last tax return to know for sure, but you know, I tend to pay something like a couple grand in terms of like okay, so here's where I guess I'm getting tripped up, right? So like working people that make shit for money all over this country, some of them get tax refunds, including myself usually, but we're fucking fine and never seem to be bitching about the myriad other taxes that surround this society that are never refunded to you, like sales tax, gas tax, road tax, property tax, etc. I never hear a person that makes like 32 grand complaining about that kind of thing. It's only people who make a shit ton of money complaining about the amount that they have to pay in taxes. And the reason that fucks me up is because I know being able to live myself off of very, very little, and having made very, very little for most of my life, having grown up in a household that made very, very little, I know that life, baseline life, just living ain't that expensive. In fact, you can live pretty fucking raw and cheap and shit. And so when I hear someone that makes like 6 figures a year complaining about their taxes, what I hear is someone talking about like someone who's living a life of such insane luxury that it would make most people on this planet balk, talking about how they don't have the money to get that next level of luxury, or talking about how they're going to be deprived of, like, oh man, I can't go to that really fucking fancy ass resort that I wanted to go to because like my fucking taxes are just 5 grand too many. Like, maybe that's an erroneous set of beliefs on my part. I'm not entirely married to the idea that 100 grand is enough money to where you should shut the fuck up about taxes. But it kind of sounds like it would be from where I sit. So, schools are paid in general by bonds assessed to property tax. That's what I thought. I thought it was property tax. It's never 1%. Personally, owning several properties, I do not mind these assessments. It raises my property values more than the tax. That's what I always thought too. Like what Zeke said was my understanding of how it worked, and I don't know why so many people have fucking problems with it. And I believe Zeke when he says he owns multiple fucking properties, and so it's like a dude like Zeke is not fucking in here tripping about the fucking taxes. And I've literally never heard him bitch about taxes the entire time he's been in any of the chats I've ever interacted with him in. But people in here complaining that their fucking taxes would go up like $1,500 to $2,000. They're basing that off a 1% assessment, for therefore telling everyone that they make like what, 100 to 200 a year, like 100 to 200,000 a year. It's like fuck you, pay the tax, fucker. What are you talking about? Fucking assholes that don't want to pay their taxes but still want to live off of all the benefits of a modern society. I rebuke any curses spoken against me in this live in Jesus' name, amen. What? Okay, yeah. It's bye for good because you are making no sense, bro. Okay, so someone gave me a math problem. So this is a PEMDAS problem. Whoa, said what is 6 parentheses 7 plus 6 parentheses. So I know you do the 7 plus 6 first. That is a plus sign, right? So yeah, I know you do 7 plus 6, so that's 13. So 6 times 13, you would do, let's see, let's see, it'd be like 78, wouldn't it? Six, because it'd be 7 plus 6 would be 13, and 6 times 13 would be 78. I'm reasonably sure. Would you rather have a jellyfish or a scallop as a pet? Definitely jellyfish. Scallops are pretty boring, honestly. Did you know my spirit grows stronger every day? I didn't, but now I do, and now I can be afraid. Man, I thought you left. No, I didn't leave. Oh, you're talking to Mongol TV. Yeah, dude, I hate people that do that. I fucking, like, fuck people that do that, dude. So annoying. It's like, I hate the fucking person that's not only do they have to announce their departure, but they've got to get you to notice them announcing their departure. They can't just go like, bye everybody. They've got to be like, bye everybody. Bye everybody. It's like, fuck you. Have you ever skinned an animal? Yes. Pretty recently, actually. I've done this a million times. I've plucking chickens, cutting a chicken's head off, letting it bleed out, plucking it, and you know, dressing it, and then sometimes quartering it and like processing it basically. I've done that a million times in my life, and we just did that like a couple weeks back. We had to process some roosters. So, yep. The biggest animal I've ever helped skin was probably a rabbit. Me and my dad never managed to get a deer anywhere around here. We've had venison like that we've been able to trade for and shit, but never had never had any luck getting our own. Feels so good. You're a weirdo. That's just weird. That's real weird. Skinning an animal should not feel good or bad. If anything, it should feel a little bad because it's like, you know, damn, you know, death makes new life. But like I don't know, maybe it shouldn't feel bad or good, but I definitely don't think it should feel good. That just sounds like creep behavior to me. Like I get a visceral kind of like oof every time I have to kill a chicken, and it would be very strange for me to imagine feeling good doing that. So whatever, you do you, weirdo. Definitely not good. That's what I'm fucking saying. Like I wouldn't think so, right? Like I'm a fucking farmer girl, and I don't feel good when I skin an animal. I guess I feel good in the sense like I feel like I'm doing something productive and healthy for my family. I'm ensuring that they're getting good meat that's been raised well. But it doesn't feel good in the sense that I think that freak fucking means it. What's your opinion on glasses? They help me see really well, so they're pretty goated for that. Um, I don't know. I usually think glasses make someone look cuter. Like I think glasses tend to give people sort of like cool sort of look to them. They tend to look friendlier with glasses. Now there's some people and there's some styles of glasses that aren't necessarily like that. Like there's some people that their glasses make them look like a lobbyist or like some kind of hard-hitting lawyer type, and that's not a good look unless you are that type. But usually glasses are a boon to a person's face, in my opinion. Do you think it would be better if nothing ever existed at all? Is there more suffering than good in the world? No. No. I mean, like, it depends, right? Are we just talking about human suffering? Because if we're just talking about human suffering, then maybe. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't think you can do that calculus. Like, there's no way that there's no metric we can look at that tells what global happiness is at any given moment in time. So all we can do is guess. You know what I mean? And I'm guessing that the total amount of global suffering, given how shitty my day can be sometimes, and I live a pretty comfy life, even given everything I said earlier, like I still live a pretty comfy life, all things considered. And my day can be pretty shitty sometimes. And if you consider how shitty some people's days must be when they live even like way, way, way less comfy lives, like I don't know, like how, like number one, you'd have to quantify suffering, and number two, you'd have to quantify uh, mirthfulness. You'd have to quantify pleasure, because how much pleasure, like number one, what creates a gram of pleasure and what creates a gram of suffering, and you know does a gram of suffering get canceled out by a gram of mirthfulness? Like it seems like very strange math to do. um would it be better if nothing ever existed at all? If nothing ever existed at all, the concept of better wouldn't exist, so no. um, it would just be nothing if nothing ever existed at all. Would it be better for us? No. Like I just the question. It's an ill-formed question. I just want no suffering for any creature. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like I don't like. I think even death should be quick and painless, as best as can be managed. Nature doesn't always do that, but it does it more often than people give it credit for. I'm down for the timeline where nothing ever happened. I'm not, dude. I honestly, that's what's so sad to me about how people's attitude seems to be right now is because, I'm not saying that they're wrong for having this attitude because I feel like I do understand where it comes from. People look around at the world and no matter what side of politics they're on, no matter how they feel about everything, they're like, shit's fucked, dude. Shit is fucked. Shit is fucking foobar fucked. And so they're all very doomer about it. And they're all like, man, what if nothing ever happened at all? And I feel bad sometimes because I'm like, I'm actually finally at a stage in my life where I'm so glad that I lived. I'm so glad that I was never able to kill myself in any of the stupid ways that I kind of tried to. I'm so glad that I was um, never brave enough to try any of the shit that definitely would have. I'm so glad that I had the, you know, like experiences that I had that made me able to cope with life. Like I genuinely enjoy life at this point. I genuinely look forward to going to bed and getting up and going to work and coming home. And like sometimes I have a bad day. Sometimes I'm just not in a good headspace. But you know, I still feel like I enjoy life quite a bit, despite knowing what I know about the world and about the collapse of the kind of underlying ecology all across the world. I'm able to kind of like maintain sort of like a personal joy for life because the world may be burning, but this spot that I'm at right now is not burning just yet. And there's nothing that I can feel that's going to stop the burning. There's very little I can do to avert the burning. Those things that I could do will make me feel better anyway. And so why not try my best to just let myself enjoy things while I can and as I can. And since kind of trying to adopt that as an attitude, I feel way better, you know? And I don't really want the timeline where nothing ever happened. I want the timeline where people, don't get me wrong, there's still things that piss me off about the way this world works. There's a shit ton that pisses me off about the way this world works. And what timeline I long for is the timeline wherein the international labor movement wasn't stymied by needless associations to state communism, wasn't stymied by, you know, neoliberal labor reforms in the US, wasn't stymied by anti union action and strike breaking. I want the timeline where the working class of the world was actually able to unite and the take the wheels back during like the World War II days. That would have been such a cool timeline to see. We might, who knows, we wouldn't have flying cars probably still, but we might have personal drones by now that were just flying us around places, and that was how taxis worked. I still eat meat though, against my moral protests. I mean, like, no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? Because it's like, and that's kind of the sad choice we're all made to make, right? It's like, I could choose to be as green tomorrow. I could choose to never, never take a ride in an internal combustion engine tomorrow. Number one, I would lose my job. And number two, I would be limited to one little tiny area. And even then, I could choose, to not rely on the electricity created by the TVA in the area that I live. And I could just live in a hut and burn wood to survive and all that shit. And none of that is going to stop Monsanto from growing another batch of weird, fucked up hybrid seeds. You know what I mean? None of that is going to stop Weyerhaeuser from cutting down another forest. None of that is going to stop Johnson and Johnson from releasing a fucking chemical spill into the waters. None of that is going to do any of that. There are things that could avert some of that, but none of them is taking my hands off the wheel. And that's kind of the choice that you're made every day in society. It's like just to exist in this society as it exists, you kind of have to underwrite exploitation in a bunch of different areas. It's one of the fucked up things about capitalism. It's why it's got to go. What's your opinion on minors in your streams? They get banned, and on the suspicion that you're one. You're gone, motherfucker. No, I don't need to talk to kids, bro. I'm about to have a kid. I certainly don't need to be talking to them in my fucking streams. I'm gonna have enough. I'm gonna have more than enough association with children once mine is born, trust me. If you had to go on a game show, which one would you choose? Man, I'm out of the game show game, dude. Honestly, the one that fucking comes to my mind first ain't even a game show. Jerry Springer, dude. Let me get on Jerry. Jerry, 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 Jerry. I want to be on Jerry. If I had to go with an actual game show, the only one I actually know the name of would be like Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader or Jeopardy. And I think Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader was totally rigged, so probably Jeopardy. Although having to answer everything in the form of a question would be difficult for me. That would be very difficult, but I think I could do it. As a society, should we make insulin more expensive for the elderly? Is this like an argument for accelerationism I'm reading here? No. I mean, like, no, right? Right? No. Is there any... Why would you make insulin more expensive for the elderly? Is it like so we kill them off and get them off the fucking like? Is it so that we get them off the like the tax? You know, like the tax expense for keeping them medicated. Is it like so we get them out of the economy and so they're not like draining things? That's the fucking thing though. It's like a drain on the economy is not a real thing. Every drain on the economy is a pipe that leads directly to the pockets of some billionaire. That's the fucked up thing about this economy, dude. Every fucking thing that people will tell you is a drain on the economy is actually a pipeline directly into some billionaire's pockets. So people will tell you welfare queens, right? Drain on the economy. No, welfare queens are a drain that lead directly into the pockets of fucking Walmart. Fucking people will tell you like homeless people drain on the economy. No, that economic problem is a drain that runs to a tube that runs directly to the fucking pockets of all sorts of different fucking institutions that subtly make money off of the unhoused. So fucking Walmart, gas stations, etc. What's another drain on the economy? People tell you the military budgets drain on the economy. No, it's a tube that leads directly into the pockets of the CEO of Raytheon and Boeing. Every single drain on the economy you will find, if you look at that tube, if you boroscope it, you will eventually end up in the stomach of a billionaire. That's the fucked up thing about it. I hate Monsanto. Doesn't any reasonable red-blooded American? It's leading to the pockets. Exactly. Every fucking drain on the economy is helping some fucking billionaire somewhere. So whenever you hear that kind of rhetoric being used against somebody, be wary of it. Be wary of when somebody says, this is a drain on the economy, that's a drain on the economy. Start thinking about, okay, well, if it's draining the economy, then where does that money go? Where is it going? Who's it benefiting? Why is this problem being allowed to persist? Start asking yourself that question, and the world will start to fall apart around your eyes. Literally. Change your whole fucking perspective. She runs on corn, baby. I don't know what that means, but right on. Making insulin more expensive for the elderly raises money for drug research and advancements that young people can reap the benefits of. Or how about this? We nationalize healthcare, and then we fund the fucking science behind healthcare. We start giving grants to scientists who have been shown to have results in the field. We start, giving starter grants to scientists and doctors who are just getting started in their research. That seems like a way better and less invasive, okay, number one, that fixes a bunch of problems that aren't just this one. And number two, it doesn't involve charging grandma more for the shit that's going to keep her alive, which I'm generally against that kind of thing. That's boring. I hate old people. See, that's what I mean. You just wanted to kill off the fucking old people. Listen, I feel you, brother. I do. I don't like the oldies either. I don't like the old heads myself. Some of them are cool. Some of them are cool. Listen, listen, listen. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Some of you are okay, but the old heads, a lot of them, man, some of them, number one, I maybe it's because where I work with the public, and so at least 10 times a day, I'm taking someone's order that all I can think is, why is this poor old man sitting here ordering for himself? Why is his daughter or his grandchildren or somebody, why aren't they here ordering for him? Because I'm having to talk to the guy like this, and he can barely hear me even when I'm yelling. And it's like, man, either leave Grandpa at the home or come in and order with him, you fucking assholes. A train's coming, so I'm about to have to mute the stream, and I'm so sorry for that. But yeah, no, you just wanted to kill the old people. Come on now, at least admit it. I fucking love your mullet, homie. It's not a mullet. It's bangs in a ponytail, but close enough, I guess. Yeah, exactly. See, my annoyance with old people honestly does not come so much from them. It does a little bit. It's annoying, but it's also like it's it's annoying because like I know it's a symptom of greater societal collapse. Because there was a time in my life when if your grandparents were going to go to, if they were going to go to Taco Bell after they got done with church on Sunday, everybody was going to go eat at the same place, and whoever the most well-spoken person in the group was going to order for everybody. And now it's like I'm constantly seeing old couples come in that it's like, yes, I understand they're still able to drive, they're still able to take care of themselves, obviously, but whatever happened to the family outing? Because some of these folks really are getting to the point where it probably is getting close to like take their license time, and it's like, help these folks out, like, fuck, dude. Why do we treat our old people so bad? When did that happen? I mean, I know it's kind of always happened, but it feels like it's gotten worse. I agree with you, the rich people are filthy rich, but they're the ones that have an interest in keeping everything running smoothly. Some poor bum could care less about how things are handled. You know what I mean? Well, no, that's the fucking thing, is like, respectfully, I kind of disagree with that, and here's why. Because I was a poor bum for a long time. I spent 2 years living in a van, off and on, and I gave so much of a shit how shit was being run. In fact, you could argue I gave more of a shit back then than I do now, because I was keeping up on even more news shows back then. I had less to do. Making, I was basically making my living playing guitar and singing on street corners, and there's only certain times of the day, especially in the summer, when that's really viable. So all the other time I would spend reading news articles, listening to podcasts, that kind of thing. And I was incredibly embroiled in how it all was going, because a big part of the reason I was in that situation was because housing is just so fucking expensive. And so, like I just got to the point where it was just cheaper for me to live in that van than it was for me to get any sort of housing situation. It took a long time for something to open up, for the point where I was able to get my, get my feet under me again. And I cared profoundly about it at the time, because I felt like I was experiencing the symptoms of a corrupt system, of a system that doesn't give a fuck about the poorest among us. And that was despite the fact that I've worked my whole life from the time I was 16 years old. So, from 16 to 22, I had all regular jobs, always. Most I ever went without job was like a month back then. And then I became homeless, and I spent about 2 years, like I said, usually living in the van. Occasionally during the winter, I would like stay with my mom at her apartment and work a job while I was living there. But it was never a long-term arrangement, and it really never could be at that time. It was just too small of a place for us and our personalities to like work together. And I being in my position, having worked the type of jobs I've had, I couldn't really get me a job that would pay well enough for me to just get under my feet in like 2 months. So it took me a really long time to find a situation that worked and then work my way up to a better situation and then get down here and all this shit. A lot of crazy shit happened to land me in this spot. And so I uh I know from my own personal experience that I, as a person who's been at that economic level, had an extreme amount of interest in the topic of politics and the way society is handled and run. Um, and so I think that that's true of most people, but I have other reasons for that too. I'll see what you said. There's so many people, it's hard to imagine everything and everyone. There's too many people in the world. Not everyone cares about everyone else. It's hard to create a society where everyone is working for free. Well, that's the fucking thing. Is like, really, the ideal society is where nobody's working for free. Everybody's unless when you say working for free, you mean like you're not working for the immediate gain of money. Because yeah, I think the ideal society does feature people basically working for free in the sense that they're doing the things that they're passionate about because they're passionate about them, not because they have to do them in order to put bread in their kids' mouths. Because the world would be a better place if that was the way things are. I know that's not the way things are now, certainly, but the world would be a better place if everybody who's passionate about a thing was allowed to do that thing. Now, are there some people who are just not going to be that passionate? Yeah, but there's always going to be jobs, even in this perfect society. There are going to be jobs for people like that want to stay productive and want to do things, but don't give much of a fuck as to what it is. Like the kind like everybody's known somebody who retired from a factory. I could never do that because I could just never stand that level of monotony my entire life. But there are people who do it, and there are people who like it, and so an ideal society would have a place for that kind of person that wants to be productive and doesn't really care necessarily what they're doing, but wants to feel like they're part of building something greater. But I do believe that this society could function completely without money under different auspices. It couldn't happen overnight. If it happened tomorrow, nobody would know what to do. Nobody would know how anything worked. But it could happen over time. It could happen slowly, right? So you start off by nationalizing certain things, right? So you start off by nationalizing healthcare. So suddenly, doctors, they're still getting paid, obviously, at this point. There's, you know what I mean? But patients aren't paying for their care directly and proportionately to the care that they receive. They're paying for it out of their taxes. And the corporations that live and thrive in that country and operate within that country are paying for it with their taxes. And so you take that off of you take that burden off of the consumer right away, right? You nationalize healthcare. And now that's not something you have to think about directly, right? And now maybe you nationalize transportation, right? So now subway drivers are still getting paid, right? They're still like fares are still being collected and when appropriate, but overall it becomes a tax funded system. So like obviously bus cards and things like that and fare just to pay for operating costs would still exist, but you've also got that added base of funding for infrastructure improvements and what's better, coordinated infrastructure improvements because everything's all owned and controlled by one, like department at this point that's got overarching control to do things like big major overalls like adding high-speed rail or fixing old um, bent out of shape rail that's um, like I can't remember where it's at, but I saw this video of a train the other day that is literally just like going like this because of the sinking that's happened to some of the sleepers. Um, so you nationalize transportation. Like I said, you're still charging fares for things that it makes sense to charge fares for, but you've also got a few, like tax funded public transportation options. You've got trams and streetcars and shit that run in established neighborhoods and small towns that you don't you don't pay a fare for them. They just run at pre-described times. You get on when you have to and you get off at the stop that's closest to where you need to go, and what the like you the thing that you enable with that is you free up a bunch of money that used to go to supporting a bunch of different businesses. Now it's going to support basically the operation of those things, and you've taken the billionaire interest out of it. So you've like I've got so many thoughts on this that it's actually hard for me to kind of like talk about it in brevity because I want to go so many directions with it. um, what about people who don't want to do anything? If I know a lot of people who live off the system, they just want to be at home drinking and smoking. They have better than I do, working 60 hours a week. Who will farm the lands? Well, that's the thing. It's like people like me and you that still love to be productive and be out there and doing our thing are still going to be productive, and people like that are still going to be like that. But here's what I would say. I would say that there are, and I would be willing to bet you that there are some of those people that um that like if the world was such where like they could get on some kind of you know super cheap fare bus to take them to some other city and get on a housing wait list for government funded housing in another city. Like, let's just say this perfect utopia existed, right? And happened tomorrow. How many of those people do you think would decide, fuck it, I'm going to go somewhere I'm actually passionate about? And how many of them do you think might get there and decide, fuck, dude, I really like this. I want to do some shit. Like, the reason I say that is because like there's that does happen sometimes. Like, not quite that stark a transition maybe, but there are the, like I have seen people go from welfare queen to productive member of society before, and usually it comes from learning a skill or getting out of a certain environment. I've had that's every time it's happened in front of my eyes, it's because someone learned a skill or got out of a specific environment. And suddenly it opens up all this passion about life because they realize that, like you say they're living better than you do working 60 hours a week, and they might be, because people who are really adept at living in the system and taking advantage of all the different things it offers, um, they also tend to not exactly be the most honest of people, and so they tend to find other ways to supplement their income. They're probably selling weed or something on the side, which God bless them, but it's not exactly it doesn't exactly do good things for the optics, and I understand that. And what that leads to is a lot of enmity between people like us who work a shit ton and you know like I don't know if you've seen any of my other streams, but I have a fucking, like, we've got a big ass garden here on the farm. I've got chickens and turkeys and got some rabbits. So like it's not a lot. It's a very tiny amount right now, but it's more than a lot of people have. And that's sort of like um I think it's very easy to kind of like be living in that sort of life where it's very hard scrabble. You don't have any sort of uh government funded assistance coming in, and everything for you is very hard fought because you've got a conscience and you've got that kind of work ethic. It's very easy to kind of look down on people who don't have that same work ethic, or who don't seem to, or for whom it hasn't awoken in them. It's very easy to look down on those people because of the way that they're living, and the kind of like stark irony of so many people having to do that. But the thing that I always want to remind people of is, like, for every, like, how do I put this? Welfare queens are just a way more relatable form and a way more forgivable form of the real rot in our society, which is people who do essentially what welfare queens do, but at multi-million dollar expenses instead of multi-thousand-dollar expenses. So yeah, does it cost probably every state that's got a lot of welfare queens, does it cost them $3 or $4 million a year to house, clothe, and feed all of those people and their children? Sure, maybe it does, but it costs us billions, literal billions, to allow to supply billionaires, the owning class, the ownership class, with the sort of luxury that they expect. It costs literal billions. It costs billions in lost labor value. It costs billions in terms of the amount that they expect to pay and be paid for the transactions that they engage in. It costs the economy billions in terms of lost labor value and um, labor spent and resources being quintessentially wasted just to provide someone with luxury. It costs our society billions to do that. It does not cost our society billions to have a couple of 100,000 welfare queens in America. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't cost our society that much. So my response to that has always been like, let's deal before we deal with the bum on the rod. Let's uh, let's deal with the bum on the plush. You know what I mean? Um, the bum on the rod is the flea who gets an occasional bite. The bum on the plush is a blood-sucking leech, sucking day and night. The bum on the rods is hated and surmised. I can't remember the words to the poem, but there's this really cool poem you can look up by Utah Phillips that kind of talks about this very thing. It's called Bum on the Rods. But that's a wet dream. It's really not fair. Yeah, I mean it's not fair, but that's the fucked up thing, right? It's like you've got this unfairness right under your nose, but if you really think about it, if you just like analyze it critically, the one that's closer to you is actually the one that affects you less. The welfare queen living down the street is not why you can't you can't get the sweet mortgage contract on the house that you really want. It's the fucking banker. The welfare queen down the street is not the reason why eggs have gone up the roof. It's the fucking dairy industry. The welfare queen down the street is not the reason why uh, weed tourism turns every place into a shitty little fucking gentrified fuckhole. It's, the tourism industry. It's like all of the things that um, we complain about as working people that uh, epitomize in what they call the welfare queen things are results, and it's the smoke from capitalist fires. It's not the result of that welfare queen who's probably just honestly, like, here's another fucked up thing about it. That shit's generational, which means that welfare queen might be the, once again, I'm using that term loosely. I don't personally believe in that archetype of person. I usually think people are a little more complicated than that, right? But let's just, leaving that aside, um I I don't remember where I was going to go with that, actually. Fuck. They're the ones keeping housing costs up. Oh, it's not really them either, though. That's the thing. Like, that's banks once again. Banks are the ones keeping housing costs up. It's the predominance of landlording and corporate landlording in particular. So when a corporation owns uh you know 3,000 houses in a neighborhood and can use its influence and the fact that it owns those homes and has leasing contracts with all the people living in those homes, it can use that to keep up the properties and make them look nice and continually increase their property values. they they've got more of a finger on the property values at that point than the welfare queen does. Like, I don't know how you could possibly justify that. Maybe I've just not heard the argument, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me based on what I know about housing from the state. From the state. Well, that's the thing, is like when you get housing through the state, like I've met a few, like, not going to say I've known and fucking gotten high with a number of people who lived in state housing, and it's kind of known for being like whatever slum the state can get a contract with, it's going to keep basic shit up, like it's not exactly known for being mansions and for being like the coziest of houses. So it's like, yes, like you could, like, yeah, is that a scam? Somebody that is not fucking, like, let's use the worst example of them all. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Brett Keane, but go look him up. He literally is a welfare queen. I fully believe it. He's a fucking welfare queen. That's what he does. He gets a welfare check from the state of Missouri, and he sits around on his fat ass drinking and smoking and lying about all of it. And um he lives in a fucking trailer. Like a worse trailer than I live in. You know what I mean? And we didn't even pay actual money for our trailer. We fucking traded a fucking bedroom set for the trailer we live in. And it's better than the one that Brett has through his fucking, you know, his HUD housing allowance or whatever. So it's like, I don't think that's true. I feel like when you really look at people who live in state housing, it's like they're living in pretty shitty housing. I don't know how that's keeping the property values up, you know? It sounds to me like they would be dragging them down, if anything. Monetary situation. If one thinks that welfare queens are the ones keeping them down, you've lost the plot. I tend to agree, Zeke, but I'm trying to have like a legit conversation with this guy because I don't think he's that far off. I mean, listen, he recognizes the basic problem, which is that rich people are fucking this country up for their own benefit. And I think that's important to recognize in people. I mean, he's lost a good chunk of the plot, but I think you can keep him around, you know what I mean? They will freaking give families up to $1,400 a month to rent a house. I can't compete with that. Well, that's the thing. It's like $1,400 a month to rent a house. Depending on where you're at, that's a lot. But depending on where you're at, that ain't shit, bro. Like I've lived in places where that would have been 3 times my rent. I rented a house in Carrollton, Missouri for like $450 for 2 years. And so, if I lived on welfare and I'd actually been getting all of that for housing, and if it wasn't just being paid to my landlords, I think it is when you've got state housing. I'm pretty sure they pay your rent directly to your landlord. They don't like give you a check and then, you know, trust you on good faith to hand it to your landlord. Pretty sure they pay him directly. And so if that was the case for me, I mean, like, but if I lived in a place like St. Louis, if I lived in a place like St. Louis or Kansas City or even like Columbia, there's a good chance that would have been like leaving me with like $200 I still had to pay, you know? So that's a lot in some places and not a lot in others. And in terms of like you not being able to compete with that, um, once again, the enemy here is not the person who's being given a $1,400 housing allowance. The enemy is the fucking landlord that's trying to charge a motherfucker $1,400 just for the privilege of having a goddamn roof over their head. Brother, that's the problem. It ain't the fucking queen. It ain't the fucking welfare queen. The girl, the fucking the big old fat lady with 7 kids getting $1,400 a month for a fucking housing allowance is not the problem in that equation. It's the fucking landlords in all these shitty little towns that are fucking insistent that the house they paid off 20 years ago is still worth $1,500 fucking $1,500 a month of your hard-earned money. That's the problem. Not the welfare queen, the landlord. In Texas, brother, it's top-notch housing. They will charge because they know the state will pay. Oh, that's fucked up, right? That's what's fucked up, right? But that's the thing, is like, once again, the welfare queen is just taking advantage of a situation that they grew up in and that they know will work. And the landlord is taking advantage of you by making you compete with a rate that the state is offering to pay if you fit a certain criteria and unwilling to pay if you don't fit another set of criteria. So it's unfair to you. The landlord's fucking over you. The landlord's fucking over that tenant by um, making it so that basically by being one more landlord in a system of millions of landlords who are overcharging for shitty housing. I mean, you say it's top notch, but maybe it is in Texas. I don't know. I didn't spend a fuck ton of time in Texas. I was only down there for a couple of weeks, so I'm not going to speak on it like I know it for sure. But I know in Mississippi, where I live, state housing tends to be shitty. like I said, I'm sure it does differ from state to state, but around here it tends to be pretty shitty. And even if it's okay housing, it tends to not be worth what they're fucking asking for it. And so that's why, in my mind, all of these questions just circle back to nationalize housing. Take it out of the hands of this fucking system where you got to compete with your working hours with someone who's not working at all. Because basically, what we're looking at right now is a situation where one person doesn't have to work, or doesn't have to work at least a traditional job or whatever, and gets a bunch of government benefits for being a multi-time parent, or for being disabled, or whatever the case might be, right? And this other person has to work, has to fucking do shit to pay for their housing. Um, and so, like, wouldn't it be easier for everybody involved and smarter for everybody involved to take that out of the hands of the capitalist entirely, to take that out of the hands of the economy entirely, to make it to where the labor that you do guarantees you a house no matter what, no matter what. Just like, you're not expected to pay rent to the state. The fucking tax system changes a little bit so that these corporations are actually paying a fucking tax every year. And so that, like, like I said, like, the tax system is just rewritten to make it fucking make sense and be proportionate. And we'll have plenty of fucking money to fund shit like a fucking nationalized housing system. Houses don't have to cost $1,500 a month. There's God has not come down and ordained that landlords charge that much for a house. That's market cap. That's what the market will allow them to charge. So that's what they're charging. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's no actual, like, that's, they're charging as much as they can get away with charging. That's how the market works. That's how an economist will tell you the market works, as long as they're not trying to defend it, right? When they're trying to defend it, they'll tell you that there's all this other shit, but really it's, like, it's supply and demand. They know that there's demand for this housing. They have the supply. They can choose the price, and they're going to choose whatever is the highest allowable price in a given market situation. If housing was not something that was left up to the market, then if people were paying rent, it would be directly proportionate to the kind of house that they're living in. So maybe it's four brackets: 250, 500, 750, 1,000. If you're paying 250, that entitles you to like 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. If you're paying 500, that entitles you to like a minimum of 3 bedrooms and a minimum of 2.5 bathrooms. If you're paying 750, maybe that entitles you to a minimum of 5 bedrooms and 4.5 baths, and maybe 1,000 entitles you to a minimum of, you know what I mean? We take it out of the hands of the capitalists, we put it into the hands of the working class that are already doing all the work to build these houses, to maintain them, to do the administrative tasks required to keep people in them. We just take the fucking billionaires out of it, and all of a sudden you don't have all of a sudden you're not competing with a welfare queen that's getting a housing allowance. You know what I mean? My mother raised me on welfare. She went to school, became a nurse, and by the time I was 20, she made 100K. That was 30 years ago. She's a retired millionaire. Welfare works. It does. Thank you, Zeke. That's another point I wanted to bring up. My mom and I grew up on fucking food stamps, and for a little bit there, welfare payments. My mom worked her ass off as soon as she was able to. As soon as her health got to a point where she was no longer being needlessly medicated, to the point where she got to where she was able to actually have uh, a job, she got a job, and she fucking, from kept, like, she stayed at one job for like a year and 6 months or something, and then that place got rid of her because she was making some of the other people look bad. No, genuinely, that's why. And she got another job, and she stayed there for like 4 years, and she got another job, and she's been working in that industry ever since. That was like almost 10 years ago. And the reason she was able to do that is because the reason she was able to transition into this new career is largely because she was able to go to college. The reason she was able to go to college is because her having a kid and her being in the income bracket that she was in entitled her to Pell Grants and student aid and food stamps, which helped the grocery bill, which was important because I'm a mountain giant and I was a developing kid then, so I ate a lot. I didn't get this weight from nothing. What am I saying? Actually, that's a lie. I didn't get this fat till I was an adult, but what can you say? Point is, welfare works. It genuinely does. It doesn't work for everybody, but that's the thing is like the people you're talking about are people that were raised by people that were scamming the system before there was ever a system to scam. Like that's the fucked up thing is like people act like the welfare queen archetype, which is number one, rare as hen's teeth, and number two, not new, but they act like it is. People act like it's some new thing that happened ever since like the 70s, and all those social programs. It's really not. That's not when the welfare queen became a thing. That the welfare queen has been a thing ever since the bourgeoisie has been a thing. The fucking billionaire class has been a thing. They were the original welfare queens, sitting around in literal palaces, eating literal fucking chocolate covered grapes off of literal slave hands. And all of the fucking working people around them, they existed to provide that welfare queen with life and luxury. And like we don't look at them that way. We give them all of this respect and deference, but the idea of finding a way to do very little in society and be rewarded for it is an idea as old as time. And it's an idea that most people can't abide. Like that's why there are so many rich people that still stay active in other things. Like Samuel L. Jackson donates a profound amount of money and time to different volunteer charities and shit, and spends a profound amount of time working, not just on his film projects, but on other projects, because he's got a shit ton of money, but he doesn't have that bourgeoisie attitude of I want to sit around and do nothing for a living. Let me see here. My tax rate is 12% to the IRS, not including everything else, gas, car, insurance. It works for the people who want to exit welfare, but the state makes it nice and comfy. Well, the state kind of I mean, in my opinion, the state kind of has to make it nice and comfy because you like being fucked over by the system that's supposed to be supporting you is not exactly the position you want to be in if you're trying to get your feet under you, right? So you kind of want it to be comfy, right? Like like you get a better night's sleep on a nice comfy mattress than you do sleeping on the street, right? Welfare is the same way. You don't want to make it so comfy that people are like, as soon as they get on it, they're like, I ain't even gonna bother looking for a job. This shit's just it'll last forever. But you don't want to put it you don't want it to put people under such intense pressure that they take the first shitty job that they fucking get offered and fuck their life even worse because they're just terrified of being put out directly on the street. You kind of want people to be able to do something better for themselves. And that doesn't happen when people are under super intense pressure. She's paid 100 fold back in the system, and she pays it happily. Most people I've met like that do. My mom, she's not a fucking millionaire. She doesn't make anything like 100K a year, but she makes about 50 grand a year, I think, and she's always happily paid her taxes. Doesn't usually get a refund these days, and doesn't really complain about it. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's because my mom saw the direct benefit that it had in her life. Because the rich don't want them to exit. Well, yeah, because like think about it. Think about how much money Walmart would lose if the welfare programs of America stopped tomorrow. Think about it for a second. If you're comfortable, you won't never want to change anything. I get it. Well, that's the thing. It's like that's not necessarily true. Being being baseline comfortable, because I think it depends on what you mean by comfort, right? Like if you mean comfortable as in like um I'm okay now. My bills are paid and I've got enough money to eat. That's comfortable to me. But to some people, when they think comfortable, they mean like I've got a fucking nice ass TV. I've got a nice ass house. I've got a nice ass car. Like, if that's comfortable to you, you know what I mean? Like, then yeah, like somebody's never going to change a situation in which they see themselves always and permanently having access to all this nice shit, and all they have to do is not change anything. Um, yeah, obviously. But if you're just talking about like comfort in terms of like living a pretty baseline existence, which is what most people living on welfare live, that's certainly what me and my mom lived when we were on welfare, then being just comfortable is not, it's not where you want to be. You might be okay there for like 2 weeks, but then you're going to really start to get bored. You're going to want like an Xbox or like a TV or something. And people are always saying it's different now, but when I was a kid and my mom and I were on food stamps and welfare, we couldn't afford no fucking 50-inch screen TV or whatever. We could afford a $5 CRT that we got at a yard sale, and we hauled that thing around from different houses for fucking like 6 years before we ever got our first uh, flat screen TV. Smart TVs were already a thing before we ever got a fucking flat screen for the first time in me and my mom's life. It's because we were spendthrifts. And I think that's how most people on welfare are. And even if they're not, what skin is it off of my back when there's somebody, when right now there's somebody using the profits that I generated at my work today to go on their 200th sale of the year around the Caribbean, and they're being serviced by a beautiful Latina girl with giant double F titties, and they're all doing that on the dime of my labor, you know? That to me is a far more egregious parasite than any of the welfare queens I've ever known. That's my standpoint on it. Fuck Walmart? Exactly. Well, fuck Walmart, but think about how much of their profit they lose if the fucking welfare queen goes away as an archetype, right? So that's the fucking thing. That's why you have to blame the fucking capitalists in all of these situations. That's why the landlord is the one to blame, not the welfare queen. That's why it is the fucking owner class, the boss, the fucking businessman who is to blame in this situation, because they profit from the angst that you feel at this situation. They profit from that because you two stay mad at each other instead of cooperating to take it back from them. They profit off of it because you're both buying shit at their. Sorry, I was hearing geese. I was just making sure it was geese and not coyotes. Anyway, it's be a lot of geese. Anyway, so um, they profit indirectly off of the angst that you cause with each other, and don't ever direct towards the actual source of all this frustration. They profit off of the fact that so much they profit off of the fact that so much of their so much of the typical welfare check for a person living that poor and that low on the economic scale is going to places like Walmart and Kroger and all these other big chain restaurants. So it's like, it's one of those situations where they'll complain about it all day, and in theory they should not want it to be that way, but they keep it that way. That's why they're the, like, when you trace, it's like what I was saying earlier about how every drain on the economy leads back to a rich person. This is what I mean. Every single thing that's seen as a drain on the economy is really just some way that a billionaire or their corporation has figured out to funnel millions and sometimes billions of dollars into their own pockets off the back of a social problem. It's fucked. Exactly. Walmart profit is based off of public assistance. Yup. They're paying pennies for products and don't pay any taxes. Exactly. 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 They pay no fucking taxes, and yet they are funded pretty much entirely by taxes in the form of public assistance. And not only that, but their employees it's estimated that the average Walmart employee spends about 80% of their paycheck at Walmart. So they're basically a company that operates off of slave labor, destroys the property values of any town that it's located in, destroys the, usually destroys the traffic flow at every intersection that it's nearby. It's a company that utterly destroys any small business that might be in the town doing the same sort of thing, unless very drastic steps are taken or there's just an insane amount of people that can get to the other stores more easily. Um, Walmart's just like this horrible fucking, tick of a corporation that's embedded on the skin of America, and it profits off of social ills left, right, and center. And like, so that's why, in my opinion, we've got to move towards a moneyless society, because as long as there is the ability for certain people to extract money endlessly and turn it into personal luxury for themselves and misery for all the rest of us, as long as that's the situation, there will always be war. There will always be strife. There will always be suffering. There will always be hunger. Because that is the source of it. It is from a peaceful world is not very profitable to the bourgeoisie. It's lovely for the proletariat, not very good for the bourgeoisie. Hey Phoebe, I hope you're doing well. What's up, Uncle Flanus? I haven't seen you in here in a while. We've been having a jolly old conversation. It's been one of my longest streams yet. It's also been one of my most well-viewed so far, I think. You move 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older, deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Boom, 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 boom. BlackRock is the biggest enemy. The middle class is paying 14% in taxes. Exactly. We're paying 14% in taxes. BlackRock is paying no taxes. Walmart's paying no taxes. The people that own all these corporations and all of these entities, no taxes. They're allowed to just skate by. They profit off of everything that taxes pay for, but they pay none of the taxes. Fucking think about that. You can't drive on a fucking road in America that isn't paid for publicly. But none of the corporations want to fucking skirt that tax burden at every fucking turn. They want to get special deals with the gas station where the gas station pays their fucking gas tax for them and shit. So, like, it's just fucking ridiculous how much, what links they will go to avoid paying a fucking smidgen, one iota, to the country that they scalp all their profits off of. They want to make money from us, but they don't want to enrich us in any way, including paying us a proper wage. So fuck them. Be done with them. Start advocating for systems that aim to dismantle the power that the owner class has over your life. Start advocating for unions. Start looking into whatever systems you can find out that advocate for putting the hands back in the power of the worker. Because that is what will save this fucking planet. That is what will solve these fucking problems we've been talking about here tonight. Yeah, I've missed a few of your streams. I'm glad I can catch you live. Well, that's really cool, dude. I've been doing a lot of them, so you should really catch up with some of them if you have the chance and you've got the inclination. Because I've had some really cool streams over the last few days. I've had some really cool moments. I'm getting a gimbal soon, so the quality's damn proletariats. Damn proletariats. Well, I mean, we are the proletariat, right? Me and you, the working class, the working poor, the people who actually turn the wheel. You know what? I'm going to play you guys a labor song because it's on my mind. I'll play you guys a labor song once I tune up. But like, that's the thing. It's like figuring out systems that disempower the ownership class and empower the working class is the only way to get past some of these things that we're talking about. Because as long as the profit motive is the reason why a bus runs or a heart surgery happens, there's always going to be corruption at the heart of it. There's always going to be manipulation intrinsic in it. And you're never going to have a satisfying answer for any of the things you're missing in life. Watch me lose all my viewers because I broke out the guitar. Roll Tide. I ain't a Bama fan, but I ain't not a Bama fan, so yeah. Roll Tide. Yeah, go ahead. Ask any question you'd like. I'll answer it before I play the song. Preach it, Phoebes. I'm trying. And the Lord came to me and he said, you will take the power back from the bourgeoisie. You will take the power back from the ownership class. You will restore it to your brothers and sisters who work the wheels, who work the forges, who work the cars, who work the buses and work the trucks. Are you Christian? I don't know. I don't know that the Bible is like a super accurate depiction of the things that Jesus said. I don't know that the Bible can be trusted to be an accurate depiction of what the original authors of the Bible even said, given how many times it's been translated. So I don't know that I could safely feel comfortable calling myself a Christian. What I will feel comfortable saying is that I really admire and try my best to embody Christ in terms of my treatment of other people and my views of the world. Like, similarly to Jesus, I have a lot of disdain for those who profit off of the poor and the hungry and the sick. I have a lot of disdain for people who profit off of that. And I have a special sort of disdain for people who profit off of it and make no moves to give back to those people or to redeem themselves for that kind of thing. I was never baptized, so I'm not saved by the Christian standard. But I also don't give the question a whole lot of thought anymore. Most of the time I say I'm an atheist because I pray only kind of like half-heartedly, you know. I don't really believe in like the big man upstairs. I think if there was a God, then you've got a lot of moral splaining to do about the state of the world that I don't think can be neatly explained away by the Christian tactic of free will. I think if a God as described in the Bible actually existed, he would still have to have some culpability for the fucked up world that we live in. And I don't know that our world is fucked up. I know, it doesn't, seems more fucked up than what the Bible would allow for. So, you know, those sort of problems keep me from calling myself a Christian. But I also always tell people this: I am not looking for Christ in my philosophy because I have found Christ in my philosophy. I am looking for Christ in his followers. I'm looking for Christ to be emulated by the people who love him, by the people who claim to champion his name. I want to see Christ in you because I have seen him in the Bible. I've seen him, in various other ways. And why did YouTube try to hide that, by the way? What the fuck? The ideas. I'm new. What is this channel about? This channel is just about hanging out and fucking having fun. Sorry for the caps. You're good. You're good. You're all good. The special hand rubbing type. What do you think about them? The ones with the blue flag and white star. Oh, you mean the kind that I was raised under? Pentecostals? So I think that's what you're talking about. Oh, wait, no, you're making a Jew joke. That's fucked, dude. Are you making a Jew joke? Is that a reference to Jews? Oh no. I can't keep you around if you're an anti-Semite now. That's not gonna, that ain't gonna fly. We can disagree on a lot of things, but one thing we can't disagree about and still be friends is the idea that Jewish people are secret evil space aliens or whatever. I can't abide anti-Semitism. Yeah, I'm not. As long as you're not, like, I don't know, like hand rubby Christians, that's mean. That's fucked up. I thought you were talking about like Christians who like who do the let me put my hands on you kind of Southern Pentecostal thing. Um I love Jews. The person who taught me how to live on the road and like survive was a Jewish person from Massachusetts. So, like, big fan of Jews. So you're a Christian? Can you be a Christian and openly say that you don't really believe in God? Or at least not the God as described as in the Bible? Like, can you, like, I don't know, I guess. That's why I said I don't really know. I don't know. I don't give the question a whole lot of weight, I guess. I don't really know how to answer it because I don't know what entails being a Christian to different people. My wife's a Jew. Yeah, I mean, like, one of my old best friends, like I said, was a Jewish person. So, like, you know, Jews are cool in my book. Dude, thank you, Zeke, because now that I've unhidden that comment, I just regret doing it. I was testing how communist you are. I mean, I was just like sitting here talking about how like we should take the fucking take the reins of power back from the bourgeoisie and hand it to the proletariat. So, like, I'm 100% communist. I just don't go around calling myself a communist because I don't like when you say communist, people don't think a person who believes in the fundamental ideas that Marx laid out in his early writings. People think a person who believes in the ideas laid out by Stalin, or people who believe in the example laid out by the USSR. And I don't, that's not what I mean when I say communist. So I don't call myself a communist because uh, I don't want people's erroneous associations with communism to color their thought pattern about me, because I'm not, I'm not a fucking tanky. I'm not a Soviet apologist. I'm not a Chinese apologist. I'm not going to sit around and make apologetics for the way China's economy has been ran or the way their revolution went or anything else. Like, I don't shackle myself to the ghosts of these old communist nations. As far as me being Christian or not, I don't know. But I am going to play this song. I spent my whole life making somebody rich. Busted my ass for that son of a bitch. And he left me to die like a dog in a ditch. Told me I'm all used up. My kids are in hock to a god to call work. Slaving their lives out for some other jerk. Yeah, my youngest in Frisco just made shipping clerk. He don't know I'm all used up. These young people reaching for power and gold don't have respect for anything old. For pennies they're bought and for promises sold. Someday they'll all be used up. They use up the oil, they use up the trees, they use up the air, they use up the seas. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? Outside my window, the world passes by, gives me a handout and spits in my eye. And no one can tell me, 'cause no one knows why. I'm still living if I'm all used up. I'll finish my life in this crummy hotel. It's lousy with bugs, and my God, what a smell. but my plumbing still works and I'm clear as a bell. Don't tell me I'm all used up. They use up the air, they use up the seas, they use up the oil, they use up the trees. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? I'm having trouble remembering the rest of the lyrics of that song. That's enough of it. That's the gist of it. Oh my god. Unpinned message. Oh my god, dude. I'm retarded. This whole time I thought you were like repeating that message and spamming it. No, I just had it pinned. Who is they? I don't remember who they was in that context. I was probably just using a gender neutral pronoun to refer to someone in a gender neutral way. Who owns the banks? Oh. Yeah, no. I'm not gonna go down this fucking rabbit hole with you, dude. Okay, so listen. Jews don't own the fucking banks. Some Jews have ownership stakes in banks. You know who else who fucking has ownership stakes in banks? White people. Fucking Middle Eastern people. Black people. German people. Fucking Canadian people. Turns out people own stakes in banks. And if you if you ever want like an explanation for why there's like a broader propensity for Jewish people to be in the finance profession, all you have to do is look at the history of medieval Christian England, where usury was banned by, there's this weird system, right, where usury was banned by the Catholic Church. You couldn't practice usury, which makes a loan pretty useless if you can't collect any usury on your loan, right? So you use a Jewish banker who is allowed to charge usury. You use a Jewish banker. That's it. And so you relegate them to where that's the only profession that they can have. And when banking starts to become not this thing that's kind of being ordained and managed by the state, but this thing that's like a private enterprise, the main people, in fact, in some cases, the only people who actually have that training are fucking Jewish people. And so they end up getting into those jobs and staying in those jobs for a long time. And it turns out when you're in the finance profession, you have enough have enough money to send your fucking kids to college. And your kids often end up doing the same type of shit you do because they grow up around it and grow up around hearing it talked about. Wow, I just cracked the fucking whole anti-Semitic code, bro, dude. I just fucking found a reasonable explanation for some shit that fucking anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists act like it's the craziest, weirdest thing ever. Who's your favorite Jewish person? My old, honestly, my old friend and traveling partner, Adam May. Really cool person. But if I had to pick someone that's someone that kind of like, is like a celebrity, favorite Jewish person. Let me think here. I feel like there's so many good ones to choose. I'm gonna have to go with Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Yeah, definitely my two favorite Jewish people as far as celebrities go. Truth. I love your Dollar Tree glasses, bro. These are like old ass glasses from like a doctor's office. These are like prescription glasses. I wish they were Dollar Tree glasses. I could just go get me some fucking more of them. These things are held together with tape, wire, and bad dreams because I have to have glasses to drive. Sorry to burst the bubble. Barry Horowitz, Goldberg, Adam Sandler. Yeah, Goldberg's right. Do you eat pork? Well, I'm not myself Jewish, so yes, I eat pork. Who the fuck asks? People are so weird in these chats, dude. People are so fucking weird. Who's your favorite Muslim? Let's see here. Muhammad Ali's always a good one to go with, but I think people would probably consider that cheating because he's like an American Muslim. Who's that one congresswoman who's Islamic? Rashida Tlaib. I thought she was pretty based, so Rashida Tlaib, she's my favorite Muslim. She's got the Muslim pass in my book. Do you believe in burial or cremation? I believe in whatever gets the job done to get rid of the body. As far as what I'll personally do, probably cremation. I like the idea of my ashes being spread somewhere and reincorporating into the dirt and the dust. And I like the fact that it kind of completes tangibly the circle of life very immediately. I like the fact that I immediately become digestible, compostable material. I'm going to pause this while the train goes by, because otherwise it's going to blow you guys' ears out. All right, Jay, listen, you're you're kind of doing like a sea lining kind of thing. I feel like you're saying I never said that, but you did. You didn't say Jewish. No. And by the way, Jew is not banned in my chat. You can say Jew, it's fine. But you heavily implied them by saying the hand rubbing. What was it you said? The hand rubbing. Do I like the type of Christian with the white star on a blue flag, the hand rubbing type? That's like, those are anti Semitic tropes that almost always refer to Jewish people. The only reason you would ask that in that context is if you're trying to make a fucking all pride anti Semitic meme. Come on now. We all know. And if you weren't trying to do that, then this is me putting you up on game. Don't ask how people feel about Jews by bringing up anti-Semitic tropes, because they'll just think you're a Nazi. Like, we were having such a good conversation until you brought that up, and then I was like, I'm not going to be led down this road, sorry. Ugandan giant Kamala, whatever gibberish nonsense, goodbye. Definitely a Kamala supporter. Oh my god, you're so retarded, it's fucking hilarious. I am the farthest fucking thing from a Kamala supporter, bro. Kamala is a fucking cop. And it seems to me like there's only like 7 people in America that are vaguely aware of that. But Kamala, from my understanding, got her career start by fucking locking people up en masse in California. So, yeah, no, I don't need a dommy mommy in my life. So, yeah, no, not voting for Kamala. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna vote for the fucking, the weirdo with a toupee either, though. Like, that's the fucked up thing, right? Is I'm in this position where I got nothing to vote for, and like I think a lot of other Americans, I've just decided to fucking bow out of the presidential election this time. Fuck it. I ain't even casting a vote. And if I do, I don't know that I'll tell you guys what it's for. But I'll tell you this much, it's definitely not going to be for either the Democratic or the Republican candidate, because I'm not willing to vote against Donald Trump, and I'm not willing to vote against Kamala Harris. I'm willing to vote for somebody, but I'm also not willing to vote for either of those people. So I guess I'll probably throw my vote away this year. Yes, our conversation was good. I thought so too. And hey, as long as you don't like make any more anti-Semitic memes, we can keep talking. I always tell people, I'm not. I know I'm not banning you permanently. I'm just taking a few minutes of your free time for you to consider your actions. And if you really weren't trying to make anti-Semitic memes, then I'll let you stay. But if you do it again, I'm just going to ban you and then ban all your alts. So, oh boy, what were they saying then? Don't call me bro while wearing my grandma's clothing. I'll call you whatever the fuck I want while wearing whatever the fuck I want. How about that, bitch? Oh, I love you guys. Having lived in CA my whole life, I've lived through her tyranny. Yeah, so, like, Zeke can put you all up on game. Kamala is not your friend. Kamala is not the sweet old soccer mom that smokes weed on the weekends. That's the image she's trying to portray to you retards, so you'll go and vote for her. Just like Trump is trying to portray the image of some everyman that understands you, like some dude that goes to the country club, even though he's not. He owns his own club and he only goes there. Same. Both parties are kind of trash. Kinda? No, they're completely trash, Jay. At this point, they are nothing but garbage. They're garbo. They're garbage. Neither of them stand for the shit that they used to claim that they stand for. That's the fucked up thing. So the Democrats, 20 years ago, when I was first like hearing people talk about politics as a little child, Democrats were the party of the working class. They were the party of unions more than anything. They were the party of unions. They were the party of strong social advocacy. They were the party of a robust social safety net. Now they're like trying to become like the party of like law and order and border reform and all of this other shit that I used to associate with the neoconservatives and the fucking the Republicans whose main thing used to be live and let live on the domestic side and fucking fuck shit up on the foreign side until they start giving us good prices on oil and then let them do whatever the fuck they want, right? That used to be the Republican position writ large, basically. Now it's like that plus burn every village, kill every man. You know, it's like they've went from being like banal evil fascists to like actively horrible evil fascists. And the Democrats went from being like neoliberal shitheels to being like Republican shitheels. So it's like normal fucking people in this country do not have a party to vote for anymore. How do you rate YouTube on emojis on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, well, you're asking a question about emojis, so I guess I'll forgive your use of them. 2. They're not as bad as like the shitty old emojis on Android devices, but they're not good either. But both support Christians and Israel. Oh, yeah, but I mean, doesn't that make you fucking kind of question things? Like, doesn't the fact that the two most profound symbols for political rot and the rot of the discourse in this country are both rabid supporters of these ideas, doesn't that make you question their basis of support for them? Like, like, is it just strange and is it just strange and benevolent coincidence that makes both the Republicans and the Democrats somehow walk in lockstep when it comes to funding Israel? Is that just like happy coincidence? Because to me, that sounds like there's a profit motive involved, or like there's some other kind of thing going on. And it certainly does not shine kindly upon Israel or, frankly, the Christian movement that both of those ancient, stymied parties are pimping out Christianity and pimping out Israel. Cheaper oil will lead to cheaper shit, I hope. I mean, you're right, but man, I hate that that's people's attitude on it. That's the motherland. Yeah, I mean, I guess according to the theology, right? Zeke said both parties are the same party. Exactly. Neither party stands for what they said they used to, and what they do stand for now is abhorrent. With that, I'm going to go ahead and go because I have to use the bathroom again, and it's fucking 2 in the morning here. So, y'all have a great night. It was super fun. We should do this again.